San Diego is a sports city. We could say that proudly now. We have San Diego FC, we have the Padres, we have the Wave, we have the Goals, we have the Soccers. Yeah, dude, it's here. San Diego is here, and we are ready to show the world that we are a sports city. It's undeniable now, especially with this victory over LA Galaxy, the MLS champions. San Diego FC gets it done. I'm recording this right before we play St. Louis. Just wanted to get a quick episode to introduce the podcast. So let's get to it. Welcome to Hanging with the Chromies podcast, a San Diego FC podcast. My name's Ish. I'm your host and guest and editor and everything, so bear with me. But yeah, it's going to be a podcast about San Diego FC, everything to do with San Diego FC, from player signings to transfer rumors, post-game reactions, game previews, talking about hopefully some of our players get called up to their national teams. We'll see how they do when they get called up to their national team. Anything revolving San Diego FC, when they're going on an away trip. When I go to the home games, I'll probably do some recordings and talk about that. But yeah, this podcast is just going to be all San Diego FC. Any transfer news, any signings, any rumors. I'm talking to you, Kevin De Bruyne. Looks like you're going to come to our team, hopefully. So if you're a San Diego FC fan, if you're from San Diego, if you're just getting into soccer and you want to, have a podcast to recap games, talk about the players, talk about how we did relating San Diego FC, this is a podcast for you. Like I said, my name's Ish. I've been following soccer since I was 3 years old. I've been playing soccer since I was like 5. I love San Diego FC. I have some scarves right here, if you're watching on video, of the teams that I follow: Real Madrid, America, and now San Diego FC. I am going to get a scarf for San Diego FC. I am going to get a jersey. So yeah, just bear with me. This is episode 1, the pilot episode. So let's get to it. Before I talk about the LA Galaxy versus San Diego FC game, I do want to be a little honest with anyone listening. I was one of those people that was a little down on the lead up to our first game. Like, I was pumped when we got announced as the 30th team in the MLS. Super pumped, super excited. I was like, hell yeah, I need another San Diego team I could root for. I need it. And then that excitement slowly went down a little bit, and then it peaked as we were getting closer to that first game. I just want to be honest. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of the crest. I wasn't the biggest fan of the color scheme and the crest, and I understood what they're trying to go for. Like, they're trying to join all the barrios in San Diego and make them one, and it's unity and flow with us and all that stuff. But when I first saw it, I was like, man, this looks like a logo for an iron company or something. I was one of those people that I was like, we could have done a little better with the logo. And then the jerseys, they're not bad. By no means do I think they're bad or terrible. I just think they're very simple. And that might not be a San Diego FC thing. That could be our sponsor. That could be an Adidas thing. But it is what it is. That's the jerseys we have. And then also, I did like the Chucky Lozano signing as a San Diego FC fan. And then Dreyer, he was cool. I wasn't too familiar with Dreyer. But I did want us to go into the season with the third DP already signed, not have an empty slot. For those of you guys that don't know, the MLS has a salary cap, which basically says you have this amount of money to spend on your team, and you gotta work with it. You can't just buy the best players, or you can't just if you have an ownership group, or if you have an owner that has a lot of money, they can't just throw money and make the teams better. They gotta work within the cap of the league, salary cap. And then they have 3 positions. Each team gets 3 designated players, DPs, where you're able to spend more on those players and they don't really count towards your cap. So basically, this league, in a nutshell, is very DP dependent. Like, each team relies a lot on their DPs. If you look at all the teams that do good, it's usually because their 3 designated players are making money and they're living up to that money. And if you're not doing that good, you either don't have your DP spots filled, or you're signing like lower level DPs and they're not really making that huge of an impact. And for San Diego to go into the season with just 2 out of the 3 spots filled, I was like, come on, man, we could have been a little more aggressive. We could have gotten a third DP. Now there is rumors that there has been rumors, and they kind of heated up again this week, that Kevin De Bruyne could be coming. For those of you guys don't know, he plays in, at worst, the second best league in the world, and by many and popular consent is that the Premier League is the best league in the world. So he plays in the best league in the world. He plays for Manchester City, which has been dominating that league for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer than that. And he was their star player. Now he's getting a little older. I think he's like 31, 32. He has been dealing with a lot of injuries the last 2-3 years. He's from Belgium. And yeah, he's a lot of class. Like he's a world star player. Like he, in his heyday, was like a easily top 10 player in the world. Top 5 midfielder, top 2-3 assisters in the world. So for a player of that caliber to pull up and sign with San Diego, it'll be huge, regardless if he's like a year removed from his best years, or regardless if he has been injured the last few years. I think he still has a lot of quality. And I would even say another Premier League team, another team in that world-renowned best league in the world would easily take him. So for him to be linked with San Diego FC is a huge deal. Like if we are able to sign him, that'd be great. Like I said, I was a little upset that we didn't have that third DP spot filled going into the year, but if we end up getting Kevin De Bruyne, then I'll, take everything I said back, and I'll be super happy. So everyone keep an eye on that. If you're just becoming a fan of soccer, or you just getting into it, San Diego FC, and you pray or you manifest or you do anything, send good vibes, send good prayers. Try to manifest Kevin De Bruyne to San Diego, because if we get him, then it's bad for the league. It's bad for the league, because if we get Kevin De Bruyne and the way we looked against LA Galaxy, it's bad for the league. It's bad for the league. Our coach Mickey Varas, he was asked before the season started. They were asking him how do you see yourself playing? Expansion teams usually like to sit back. They like to invite the other teams, try to get them on their counterattack. They like to focus on defense. And this man goes nah, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to try to keep the ball in possession. We're going to go forward, and we're going to, take it to the other team. And then even with LA Galaxy as the reigning champions being the first team on our schedule, he was like, nah, we're going to go forward. And I could hella respect that. But also I was like, we don't have the best back line on paper. We don't have the best midfielder on paper. We do have great wingers and a decent midfield, but our goalkeeper, Dos Santos, going into this game, he had 3 or 4 starts in the pro level ever. That was it. He's very raw. So it was, there was a lot of, I guess, how could I describe this? There was a lot of, excitement going into this game, but there was also a lot of, I hope we don't go, into LA, into Carson, into Galaxy home field and get trashed. That was an actual possibility, just because they are the champions. It's our first team. It's our first time playing together and at a real game. And we have only been training for 5-6 weeks together, a month. It was is that the smart thing to do? Just from just as a fan, thinking of all the possibilities. Obviously you want to win, and you're hoping that you're going to win, and you're yeah, we're going to be the champions. But then also you take a step back and you analyze oh my God, we're going against the champions. We're going into their home field. They're doing the ring ceremony before the match. They're going to be super amped. They're going to be super amped up. They're going to have a lot of energy. They're going to want to celebrate the ring ceremony with the victory. So I was ooh, if we're going to go in there and, be on the front foot and try to score goals and try to take it to them, we better be rock solid on the back, because we might leave a lot of gaps as we're going forward. But man, that's having those doubts and those, thoughts of, and that a little bit of fear that hopefully it doesn't just, we don't get completely embarrassed on Sunday Night Soccer on the MLS, made this game that much better, because we looked like the better team from the first 10 minutes. We looked comfortable with the ball in our foot. We looked like we knew what we were doing. We're moving the ball from side to side. and we were attacking, and we looked like the team that had been practicing together for like years instead of the Galaxy. So that was nice to see. In the second half, Dreyer and Chucky Lozano are two DPs. Like I said, it's a very DP dependent league. Our two DPs, Lozano gets a sloppy ball from Galaxy, passes it to Dreyer, and we're off and running. And if you look at the stats, we'll just look at the stats real quick. You could clearly see that we were just on the front foot this whole time. We have more shots, double the shots on target, more possession, more passes completed, about the same pass accuracy. And yeah, we did get 2 yellow cards, but it is what it is. It's not that big a deal. If actually, I kind of like that because we put our foot in there. We were not scared. Godoy, he got a yellow card at the end of the first half. He looked good overall. He got subbed out. Godoy, he's gonna be a key player. He looks like he's gonna be our enforcer in the midfield. De La Torre looked pretty good too. San Diego native, coming from La Liga. He has a lot of experience. He's played with the national team, with the U.S. national team. So that's another key player. A pretty big player to have and not take a DP spot. He's coming from La Liga, well-renowned league. He has national team experience. Excited to see what he could do for us. And another player that I want to highlight is Dos Santos. Dos Santos, like I said, very raw, not a lot of experience. Probably the main weak point in our team. If you were to do a analysis of our team going into the season, Dos Santos looked pretty good. And I think it was in the first half, they had a free kick and they lobbed it to like the second post, kind of far away from Dos Santos. And he comes off his line and goes and punches it. And I mean, to most people that might not be a big thing, but if you're an inexperienced keeper, if you're barely starting out in the top division, top flight, a lot of goalkeepers, one of their biggest mistakes is that they stay on their line. So like if this is the goalpost above us, they stay right here. Even if the ball is coming just like a little bit from like within reach, they won't come out. They'll stay in their line and they'll let their defenders duke it out. And you need a keeper that's able to go out and like go get that ball. And he showed that in his first game against the champions. So that means he's confident. And, half the battle is having confidence for a keeper, for a defender, for a lot of sports. So to see Dos Santos have that confidence to go out, punch the ball, even if he would have missed it and made a mess out of it, I would have actually been like, all right, at least he has the cojones for this. But he hit it and he cleared it and he went back to his line. He looked pretty solid the whole match. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Dos Santos looked good. Godoy looked pretty good holding that midfield. Our two DPs, Dreyer especially, looked amazing. That second goal finish off the crossbar, beautiful finish. Chucky Lozano, maybe I'm a little harsh on him because we did spend $12 million on him. He is our star player. He's a national team player from Mexico. He's going to be the one that takes us deep. If he's doing great, then, we'll have a chance to do some big things this season. So I'm expecting more from Chucky Lozano. He had a decent game. He stole the ball. They gifted him a ball and he got an assist. He could have scored a goal, but their keeper, got a paw to it. Chucky Lozano, I've seen him his whole career. I do believe he has another gear. Maybe just because only 1 month together, but I do believe, I know he's approaching 30, but I still think he has that speed that he didn't really show it against Galaxy. Maybe he has to get back into form, into rhythm, but I'm expecting more from Chucky Lozano. But overall, that game was amazing. And let me just quickly give props to the San Diego FC fans. They traveled from San Diego. They took the buses. I was watching TikToks and Reels, and the SDFC social media team did a good job highlighting how great the fans were. Like we had thousands, I think like a couple thousand or close to 1,000 fans go from San Diego to LA to Carson, and they brought the vibes, man. They had the instruments. Like most people were wearing the jerseys, even the new jersey, the white one. People were rocking that already. They had the scarves. It was a vibe, man. It was a vibe. San Diego FC fans showed out. I was watching it, unfortunately, from the TV. I'm from San Diego, born and raised, but right now I am living in the Bay Area. So I was watching it on, Apple TV, watching the game, and you could hear the fans. You could hear the fans through your phone on TV. Like you could hear them making noise in in Carson in Galaxy Stadium. So that was impressive. When the goals were scored, it also got super loud. It almost felt like we were at a home game. And that was one of the things that people criticize San Diego for in the last years of the Chargers. Don't want to dampen the moods, but I feel like San Diego fans got a bad rap when the San Diego Chargers left San Diego, because the stadium was a little empty, or it was empty, and fans of the opposing team would take over in San Diego. But those last few years of the Chargers in San Diego don't paint the correct picture of San Diego fans. That there was a lot of stuff going on during those times. The owner clearly didn't want to stay in San Diego. It was asking so much from the city to stay in San Diego. They weren't investing in the team. They weren't investing in the stadium. The stadium was falling apart. I love Qualcomm, and I have some great memories there. I'm sure a lot of San Diego people have great memories in Qualcomm, but that stadium was falling apart. It was leaking in multiple spots. The seats weren't comfortable. Not enough shade. Not enough concession stands. Concession stands could have been better. Like I don't blame San Diego fans for what happened, but what did happen is that the national media kind of painted San Diego fans as not loyal, and try to make San Diego seem like it's not worthy of having professional sports teams. So it's been beautiful to see how the Padres have been on the up and up these last few years, and the fan support that they're getting, the fan support that the Wave are getting, breaking records at Snapdragon with their inaugural match. Now it looks like that San Diego FC is going to break it today in a couple hours. And yeah, it's been nice to see how San Diego sports fans and just the community has showed out and shown support to San Diego teams as of late, and bringing that energy back and painting San Diego sports culture in a different light to the mass, to the nation, for everyone to see that San Diego is just as good a city as any other, and we could host important sporting events in our city. Just had to get that out there, because I do get upset when people say like San Diego's not a sports city, or the Chargers left because the fans weren't good. Like, nah, we left. They left because the owner wanted to leave. He wanted to get some money, that LA money. He didn't want to pony up his own money for his new stadium. So he let the Rams build the stadium. He's their second tenant over there. So San Diego is sick as fuck. But yeah, like I said, I'm recording this on Saturday, a couple hours before the game starts. So I quickly just want to give a little match preview of St. Louis. This episode is only gonna get a couple hours of availability before the game starts, so I might not get any traffic. Like I said, it's the first episode. Just want to get it out there before game 2, and hopefully build some consistency in these episodes. But yeah, San Diego FC against St. Louis. Google has us at 46% chance of winning, draw 26. St. Louis 28% chance of winning. I personally think we're gonna win. Like, I personally think that after the showing that we had against LA Galaxy, and how nice, how comfortable we looked with the ball in our foot in possession, I'm almost ready to put 100% certainty that we're gonna win. Especially because St. Louis didn't do that well last year. If we look at the standings from last year, and we look at the Western Division real quick, we could see that they finished 12 out of 14 spots. Obviously, there's 15 teams now because San Diego is that 15th team, but we're looking at last year's standings, and St. Louis didn't really do too much noise. They didn't make too many moves this offseason, so I'm not really leaning on them changing their season too much from last year. You can see they had 8 wins, 13 draws, 13 losses. They scored 50. They got scored on 63 times, and they only managed 37 points. So I do not see St. Louis as a huge threat, especially away. If they're playing at home, I do believe they're a little harder, but away at Snapdragon with the stadium rocking, like MLS is writing these articles where they're saying, we anticipate historic crowds for home openers. And I do think that's going to be the case because I have friends in San Diego, I have family in San Diego, and I know a lot of people that are going to go. And they're basically like saying that, yeah, those tickets have gone up in price. Those tickets are climbing and climbing in the resale market. So I can only imagine that it's going to be packed. It's going to be packed. Like I said, it's currently about 3 right now. We're about 4 hours away from kickoff. Hopefully this will be posted around 5 p.m., a couple hours before the game. But sheesh, it's gonna be rocking. It's gonna be rocking. I already saw Manny Machado make a post. He's a partial owner of SDFC, Padre legend, third baseman for the Padres. He already made a post today, hyping the community up, and he did a great job. I saw his post as I woke up. I was like, oh, yup, San Diego FC open home opener today. Like, let's get it, let's do it. So yeah, back to the game. Like I said, St. Louis not too hot last year. I did look through some of their key players. They signed Hartle and they signed Tilchert, 2 players from the Bundesliga in the last year. One from the Bundesliga, one from the second division of the Bundesliga. So, they do have some key players in their midfield and in their forwards. So we got to keep an eye out for them. And I did look at some other websites where they were kind of listing their predictions for the league. And, take this with a grain of salt because they did put San Diego FC as the 15th team in the Western Conference. 15 out of 15 was their prediction. And they put St. Louis 11. And for context, they put Galaxy as their 3rd strongest team. So we already took down Galaxy in LA. So to welcome St. Louis to San Diego, I think I agree with Google, man. I give us at least a 45% chance of winning. I would even say like a 60. I would say, to be honest, I'll be pushing 60. And then just for more reference, another MLS article had us as 28th out of 30th overall in the whole league. They're highlighting Chucky Lozano and Dreyer, our 2 DPs. Like I said, Luca De La Torre. He comes from La Liga, another key player. And they put, where did they have St. Louis? They had him probably a little higher. St. Louis, 16th. So like dead in the middle of the road. And for context, one more time, they had Galaxy as number 2. So like I said, the fact that we beat Galaxy in their stadium, home opener, like I said, they didn't have Ricky Puig. They lost a couple of players, but it is what it is, man. I think with what we showed, I don't think it was a fluke. I think that's gonna be our team. On the front foot, comfortable with the ball in possession, not scared of anybody. And yeah, so sorry, St. Louis. I know you guys are trying to have a bounce back season after finishing 13th or 12th out of 14 last year, but it ain't gonna start with us. Like, we look better in our opener. So basically what I'm trying to convey is St. Louis, not the most attacking team as shown by last year. They were negative 13 in their goal differential. They were close to the bottom in the Western Division. Didn't make too many moves. And in their home opener, they also didn't score any goals. They played Colorado and didn't fare too well. They did get 17 shots on target, but only 5 on target. And they scored, none. So I don't think. And where did St. Louis? Okay, so Colorado did finish 7th last year. So, not the worst result for St. Louis in the home opener, but not anything that would strike fear in San Diego FC fans. Like, nothing that I saw. I did watch the highlights, and nothing that I saw is really making me be like, oh nah, they could get us on our inaugural home opener. Like, nah, it should be good. I could be wrong, but I think we're gonna celebrate tonight. It's gonna be a good It's gonna be a celebration night. It's gonna be popping in Mission Valley. It's gonna be popping in Fashion Valley. It's gonna be popping in the gas lamp everywhere, man. I think it's gonna be a good time. And from what I saw, it's gonna be popping at PB too. I saw Mavericks was hosting a watch party. So wherever San Diego fans are at, like I have, the way they set up the schedule, tough opener overall, going to the champion's house, but not the worst. Actually, pretty good opponent to, welcome our home fans into Snapdragon Stadium. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Like I said, this was pilot episode number 1, hanging with the Chromies, the OG Chromie right here. Welcoming you guys to the podcast. If you guys made it to the end, make sure to subscribe to the pod. It's going to be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. Make sure to subscribe. I'm probably going to drop another episode in a couple hours after the game, recapping how we looked against St. Louis. If I was dumb, taking them lightly and thinking our win is almost guaranteed, I'll cover that. Hopefully no injuries. And then maybe a look ahead into our next 5 opponents and how they did this weekend. But that should do it for this episode. Again, thank you so much. Go San Diego FC. Vamos, Azul y Chrome, vamos.